Hello everyone and welcome back to another Black Desert video. So over the past week, ever since the change of all the AP grind spots and formulas, I've been doing a lot of grind testing, making videos of every spot and trying to accurately showcase what the changes are. But today I wanted to do an all-in-one for my crystals and add-ons just so people can get an idea of what to use. Now, I made a video previously with my crystals and add-ons, but let's just say this is week 2 and things have gotten tweaked. So I wanted to talk about it. Most of them are the same, but I made some small changes that I think are actually important. So I think it's a good idea to update it. And with that said, this might be a long video, so lock in. I'll leave some timestamps in the description. So if you're only here for a certain thing, hopefully that helps you save some time. But I wanted to talk about everything in terms of crystals, Lightstones, add-ons, things that I've used, things that I've tested, and what I think is actually overall good. So, with that said, let's start with crystals, and I'm going to go speed run through this one. If you want to watch the detailed one, I'll leave a link in the description to the previous one, and I talked about why I used it. Alright, so this is the PvE damage one. Going over this one real quickly. If you are not overcapped, this will give you the most damage output. So like if you're a newer player or a mid-tier player with me, which is within like the 260 to 300 AP, chances are you're probably going to be using some of these if you're grinding spots where you're barely meeting the efficiency requirement. Just to give you an idea of what that means before that. So like let's say you're grinding a spot over here, right? And your default looks like this. Just click this little button right here to show the stats, look at the effective limit, and look at your stats. Green is good, red is not good. If you are red, use the most damage to get to the effective limit. If you're green, you're overcapped, and we'll use some other stuff. Just a quick idea. Okay, so this one, most damage output. Alternatively, I understand that some of these crystals are kind of expensive, and you may not be able to get them. So the crystals that avoid, these are from Orzekia. If you don't have them, your alternative would be the regular Akrod crystals. So this is like the same thing, but +2 damage. It's just the endgame boost of +2. If you don't have it, try to get one of these. Significantly cheaper, just -2 AP, and then combine it when you can. Not a big deal. Same with the other one. Same with these two endgame ones, but you can have budget options as well. 4 Macalods gives the most damage output. Then you want it, after you go hit a cap, you want to do extra like special attack damage, which is like back, crit, air, down attacks. Those are what we call special attack damage, and then you want to start boosting that one. This one is just a mix of both AP and defensives and a knockdown resist, which is always nice, just a bonus to have. This one is just more monster AP and regular AP, so I guess it's like a hybrid, but most people just use it for PvE, and just 175 HP is always nice to have. There's corrupted and also back attack crystals, which I will show you in a second. It's these two, Mysterious Darkness versus Corrupted. I believe Corrupted is generally overall higher damage output, but the back attack is nicer and it doesn't have a downside of -2 DR. So generally most people will use this because it's not a huge difference, but if it does make a difference, you can use the back attack. All right, and Giran's crystals, or the Giran tier, remember when they were used to be maxed out 5 billion silver? Now they're not, so there's really no excuse to not have one these days. Item drop rate, always nice, and monster AP and damage reduction. Even if the AP is over the cap, you're still getting monster damage reduction, always nice, and then just the extra stats along with it. But mostly you're using it for the +10 item drop rate. Always good to have. Alright, so next thing we have are knockback, knockdown, and anti-stun. You don't need these. Like, well, actually, that's not true. You need them, but you don't need all 3 of them. So, like, if you don't have all the presets, then it doesn't matter. Just swap out, like, a relevant crystal or 2. Like, if I were to take out anything, I would probably take out, like, Macalods first or something, or Rebellious, and then replace these with crystals. So double fighting spirits for knockback, double adamantine and stalwart fortitude. This one will give you over 100%. Well, ideally you just want 100%, but this gives extra stats on the way. So I think knockdown is the most important crystal setup, or the most important CC resist you can get. So this is the better of the three CC resist crystals in my opinion, but it depends where you grind. Anti-stun is double giants. I don't really use this one as much, but it's just nice to have. So it's like tankier in a way. Now, PvP damage. This one is just all out damage, and that's your goal. Glass cannon, die fast, do more damage. Defensives is this one. This is what I had. More defensive, less damage. Arsha, if you grind Arsha, let's say you're PvEing, like you're just grinding normally, then someone is like, here, I want flags up on you or whatever. It's kind of a mix of damage, but you still also are efficient in PvE as well. So it's a little bit of mix. That's why we call it PvX. Do mix of both without having to change your crystals, but ideally you could min-max on one of the others. Accuracy. This is strictly PvP. You want as much accuracy as possible while still being able to do damage. Your goal is to actually hit evasion players. Evasion. I don't use this one as much, but evasion players might get something out of this one. Double harpias and what is it? Extra evasion stuff over here. So trying to get as much evasion as you can, stack it, end game. Very cool. Admittedly, evasion is kind of going downhill nowadays with the changes. Most people are swapping to DR, even if you're an evasion class. But ultimately, I think from a majority of players, evasion is not on the table. Unless you are in like the absolute 1% of gear score, then evasion is probably super good. Defensive. This one is basically just, you know, those people in RBF or uncapped wars where they're just super tanky. They don't do any damage, but they don't die either. Yeah, that's kind of that. So you could replace adamantines. I personally think knockdown is the strongest CC you can do on someone, just because the amount of time it takes to get back up from a knockdown is so long. So you want to have as much knockdown resist as you can. But if you didn't want to use this, you could just stack infinite abundance armor crystals, and there's no limit, so +5 DR as much as you can. Ideally, this is just tanky, very tanky, no damage output. This is the one I changed as of recently. So if you are overcapped in a spot, ideally, like you drop damage for more survivability. So what I did was I added double Alukas for attack and cast speed +1%. It goes with the Akrod. So like back in the day, these are PvP and PvE. It still kind of is, but you're using this for the extra attack and cast speed, like 4% right here for 2 of these and 2 of these. And then you trade off the Macalods. I personally chose Frozen Bitterness and HP. Just more survivability is always nice. And then 1 Crystal of Void Destruction, because without buffs, you are not getting 5 crit rate total. So basically this one counts as +3, and then if you're using like what is it, tent buff or villa buff, that gives you the full 5. So yeah, basically you have to be full buffed without it, or just half with it, and then you do half buffs. Either way, getting 5 crit rate is not a big deal. You can also get another crit rate through the outfit crystal slot in the middle. I personally value movement speed a lot higher, but you can get crit rate that way as well. So no big deal. You could swap this one out for a fortitude as well, so more damage and also more tankiness. But I personally like the crit rate just across the board. So yeah, that's what I have. This one is a flex spot. You could take it out or whatever, depending on where you're grinding. But you basically trade off Macalods for defensives. This is what I chose. Max speed, survivability and defensives are higher, and then this is your flex spot. So yeah, that's what I chose. You could change this to whatever. If you feel like you need a resist in here and you don't have these extra slots, do that as well. But keep in mind, this overcap is built for me, and I can grind every spot like full buffed. I'm beyond 1600 monster AP, so this is what I have. If you're not at that point and you want to try something else, once again, this is the way to go if you're not overcap. So anyway, yeah, without that, the idea is crit rate. You get 5 with Villa buff and, you know, anything else that you use. So no big deal with that one. Bosses, PvE, Black Shrines. This is what I do. I haven't finished mine for the week, but ideally like 8, 9, 10s, weekly party bosses. That's what I use it for. I chose Mysterious Darkness because back attack is a lot easier to get. and doesn't have the downside of -2. So in theory, like if you eat a hit, you take less damage. But when you're doing like party bosses or like Calamity 8, 9, and 10, if you're gonna die to a mechanic, neither one is helping you. But there are some attacks where you would like to just take a little bit less damage, and that's the reason why I chose this one. Life skilling, full mastery, put you up at least 3 brackets, and it's nice to have. Life skill, all XP. I think this is better for beginners. Like, let's say your goal is to push Guru, so you could do Imperial Delivery Guru boxes, or, you know, farming because you want to get the old moon fences or something. Just start pushing XP until you get to Guru, then switch to Mastery. I also have double energy crystals in this one because plus 20 is always nice, and it helps with gathering a little bit. And a little pro tip that I could give you is if you put the energy crystals on here, so you see how mine is 619, right? If you put them on other characters and you're not actively playing, their cap will be 639, or like plus 20 to your total. So it's just kind of that thing. Does it really make a big difference? No, but is it just nice to have? Yeah. So that's about it. So yeah, that's what I used in combat. This is for seasonals, and basically if I'm just pushing levels, mostly on if I'm AFK on a dummy overnight or something, and I just want max XP. That's what it's for. All right, that's my crystals. Next thing I'm going to talk about is full artifacts. Now I swapped this up. I've been testing it throughout the week, and I'll answer some of the questions that I got. So, all out attack. Is this one still good? Should you sell it if you hadn't? No, I think this one is still very good if you do not meet AP caps. This one is just, you know, most damage output. But if you're at the end game, I think there are better options for special attacks. So, especially, you know, going forward, we're going to have Adania soon. We don't know any details of grind spots or anything. So it's a good idea to keep it, just in case they decide they want to push out like some wild grind spot that no one meets the caps for. That's why I'm keeping it. If you are overcapped, there are 2 things you should use: Vicious Shadows and Target Opening. So Vicious Shadows is basically back and crit damage. So I think this one is more output if you're actually doing the back attacks. And so like overall, you see how it's 5 and 2%. So 5% back attack, 2% crit. And then you also add the Lightstone combo, so it'll plus 1% to each, and then extra monster damage. I personally like Vicious Shadows more than Target Opening just because it's higher damage output, assuming you're full back and critting. But I think for a lot of people, and if you're doing some spots that you can't get back attacks as often, Target Openings is just straight crit damage, so like 5% plus the 1 strike crystal. These strike crystals are still kind of expensive, so if you can only pick one, I would probably choose Vicious Shadows because it's just more damage output with, if you're overcapped, you're doing more special damage. So, like, for example, this would be a total of 9% special damage, assuming you're back and critting. Whereas Target Openings is 5% plus 1% for the strike. So, yeah, if you're overcapped, Vicious Shadows will be doing more, assuming you meet the back and crit things. But 6% is also very solid as well. So once again, strike crystals are expensive, but if you were to pick one of them, I would probably choose Vicious Shadows. Keep that in mind. It doesn't matter. I think both of them are very good. I just think that Target Openings is like, accuracy and stamina are nice, but they're more used in PvP situations than PvE. So like the accuracy is kind of irrelevant right now in most grind spots. And then the AP, if you're overcapped, like literally irrelevant. So it's just kind of nice to have. So either one, Target Opening versus Vicious Shadows, I think they're both good. It really just depends where you're grinding. I'm still doing testing with it as well. Some spots it's easier to get back attacks than others, so you can swap it out. But yeah, once again, if you can only pick one, I would choose Vicious Shadows. Just generally more damage output. And All Out Attack is one of those if you do not meet the AP requirements for the spot. All DR, literally all DR, plus 30 and double Dekia artifacts. I do notice a difference in terms of tankiness with this, but I think this is more of a PvP set for me. And keep in mind, I play a Dark Knight, which is considered the glass cannon class of this game. So basically, no matter how much DR you have, you're getting clapped by other geared players. However, I do notice a difference. I slightly survive a little bit more than before, so it's noticeable. I like it. I'm still going to use it. But also, I also play more than one class, so I think it's helpful. Lifeskills, literally the same as before. If you do not use a pay-to-win rod for fishing, use the auto fishing time with the Balanos rod. If you do use a pay-to-win rod, you would be using this one, which is a combination of this one, Fortune Feather, Predation, and Fitted. What this one does is durability reduction loss is lower. So like if you're using the Grandpa Kron rod or Cool Wind rod, the durability doesn't drain as fast, and that's about it. So yeah, depends which fishing rod you're using. Use that one. Gathering is Yawning Hedgehog. I think this is the best in slot for gathering. Every stat is very nice to have, but your ultimate goal is getting gathering item drop rate. Cooking, I do Imperial Delivery, so I value Mastery higher than the XP. Also because once you're past like Guru 1, realistically, you could do Imperial Delivery boxes, and what you want is Mastery more than Cooking XP. So when I do Cooking, just Mastery allows you to do a lot more and get more silver out of it. Alchemy, I don't think this is the best in slot, but I just kind of had this one for a while, and the idea was to push my thing to 1 second alchemy time. But ever since they introduced the bottle, the flask thingy, this thing, it's super easy. Plus all the buffs, it's really easy to get 1 second alchemy these days. So I don't know if this is the best one, but this is just what I've been using. I've been too lazy to switch it to Mastery, I'm not gonna lie, so I just kind of use this one. I don't think it's bad, I just don't think it's the best in slot. Processing, I'm gonna be honest, if you process a lot, this is probably important. All you want is processing success rate. That also means you have to check your thing every like 10 minutes instead of 15 minutes, so it is what it is. Yeah, that's about it. PvP, human damage and AP against adventurers. So they made this change recently where players, like PvP, is players damage against adventurers. Human damage is PvE, and it's like human type enemies. So, you know, there's things in Calpheon, Underground, that one grind spot, Bloody Monastery, and so on. Basically, if you look at something, you know, the health bar comes up around here, and it's like you look at the health bar, but then on the side it'll tell you what kind of species the enemy is. Yeah, the one that says human is what you use this one for. But ultimately, I use this for PvP, double accuracy artifacts with just straight human and adventure damage. This was ideally used for PvP back in the day, and that's about it. So, alternatives, what you could use for budget options. If you don't have a strike crystal or your server is sold out of them, I heard on EU you actually have a lot of these, and strike crystals are like 2 billion on EU. That's kind of crazy because they're 4 on NA. But yeah, cheap alternative options. If you don't have Kabuas and you're like a new player, what I would recommend is just going realistically extra AP against monsters. It's literally free damage if you're not meeting caps, and then just add like literally anything that you think would be good. So if you don't want to worry about special attacks as a beginner, what I would do is species damage, depending on where you're grinding. Species crystals are very cheap nowadays. It's like 3 Fallen for Kama Sylvian, 3 Roar for Demi-Human, or when in doubt, just put Predations. These are like literally the cheapest budget option you can get. More AP against monsters, 4 of them, and then in your artifacts, that's more damage. And then as you get better and you decide you want to start investing into artifacts and crystals, these are what I would use ultimately. So target opening, Vicious Shadows, all out attack, depending on where you're at in the game. I think those are important. So with that said, those are like a speed run of all the crystals and artifacts and everything I use. So hopefully they helped you. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to point you guys in the right direction if you're lost and confused. But ultimately, this is what I used after about a week of testing and tweaking my crystal and everything set up. So hopefully it's actually good. So I think all of these will work for you, whether you're a beginner all the way to end game, and it's just depending on how much you want to invest into your crystals. And we talked about like some alternative options for like cheap stuff as well. So once again, if you don't want to invest into 3 build crystals, you can still use Macalods as damage output. Alternatives are Valors for crit rate and AP. That'll also help you get into the 5 crit rate without buffs, which ultimately is irrelevant. And then you don't worry about all these Dawn crystals until you have Karazad, because you can't even use them unless you have Karazad equipped. But these are just kind of icing on top kind of things. But when in doubt, just use all AP and just hope for the best. So that's about it. Everything else is kind of, personal preference on what you want to use. But that's about it. Thanks so much for watching. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. I'd love to see you guys come back. And we got a lot more testing on grind spots and stuff. But we have a lot of videos on the channel of post-patch changes and me testing them. So if you're interested in watching them, they're just there. Check it out. And I'll see you guys later. Peace.